Our mom, Sharon Louise Porter, was born and raised in Victoria. She was one of 3 very loved children and the firstborn child of Eric and Muriel Porter. She and her sister Linda shared a room for their younger years, and although they bickered like sisters do, they were best friends and remained close for their entire lives. Auntie Linda once told us that her sister was so messy that she would divide the room with tape to separate the two and insist Sharon keep her mess to one side. This is so ironic because the mom we knew was such an immaculate house cleaner that you could literally eat off her floors. Sadly, we never knew our Uncle Stephen, as he passed early on in her life. And this was really hard on her and her entire family. Growing up, Mom was a bit of an introvert, which us kids found very puzzling because later in life she became quite talkative, especially on the phone, and she grew to love entertaining. Perhaps more than being entertaining, Mom just loved to host people, particularly her family and close friends. Dad was the extrovert, and because she adored him, she just followed him through life and was happy to be wherever he went. She told us she felt fortunate to have shared her life with him and to have been by his side. That led to many parties, sporting events, as well as bridge groups, curling, and even golf. They met on a blind date at Royal Roads, and when she got home that night, she told her sister she would marry him, and she did. It was love at first sight, and they built a life together that was based on mutual admiration. He thought she looked like Elizabeth Taylor, and she thought he was the movie star of her dreams. It comforts us now knowing that she's joined Dad in the afterlife. Wherever Dad is now, she's right there by his side again. As a child, she attended Willows Elementary, then Oak Bay Junior High for grades 7 to 8, followed by Oak Bay High School, grades 10 to 12. Mom was known to be a deep thinker, a very thoughtful person, and strong-willed. She did well in school and excelled at all her studies, particularly politics and history. It was said she could read a book while listening to a lecture and retain both. She attended Oak Bay Junior High School and Oak Bay High School right next to Grandpa's independent grocery store. After school, she and friends would deliver flyers around the neighborhood for 50 cents a day. Grandpa stored chocolate bars, candy, and chips in the basement of their home. Rumor has it, it was very handy for playing house as kids. A steady supply of junk food, till they got caught. Mom also excelled at classical piano growing up and began teaching piano in high school to save money for her travels. She was a concert pianist, but also an introvert. She told us as kids that she hated performing on stage. It made her feel physically ill. She loved to play in the house though, and we grew up with the sounds of classical music, particularly Rachmaninoff. After high school, she went on to university where she studied to become a primary school teacher. When they first started dating, Dad would beg her to perform for his fellow cadets and boast about her playing on CBC radio on Sundays. She said this totally unnerved her, yet for Al, she would play and play. He became pretty well versed on the guitar as well, and over the years they played together often, especially on holidays and special occasions. Music was a big part of their lives, as well as ours. After graduation in the summer of 1960, Mom traveled to Europe with her girlfriends. This is when she decided to bleach her hair out like Marilyn Monroe. She said it was an accident. More likely she was being a bit rebellious. As a teen, she liked to smoke sneaky cigarettes in the closet and stay up all night reading romance novels. One of her childhood friends told us stories of Pentecostal summer camps. She said of Sharon, Linda, and herself, "I don't know why we liked that camp. I think it's because we were a bit older and we were a tad rebellious. We were old enough to go to the mixed camp, but it was more fun being the oldest at the girls' camp. We can only imagine the trouble those girls got into." Mom had a stubborn streak and a strong will, a will that carried us all through the last decade of her life. Despite her love of family, Mom admitted that growing up she was never really a fan of babysitting or children in general. It wasn't until she met a tall, dark, handsome man from Royal Roads that everything changed. They were set up through friends, and she reluctantly agreed to go out on a double date with this man she'd only seen in pictures. That date led to the next and carried on through a summer of romance. Soon after that, Al had to return to Montreal to finish his degree, and so Sharon left her home in Oak Bay and headed off to join the love of her life. This move resulted in their marriage and the birth of their firstborn child, little Stevie, later that year. Tragically, in that same year, her little brother passed of ulcerative colitis, a loss that rocked the family. It was after her brother that her firstborn child came to get his name, James Stephen Coppin. Mum was very close with her family, and it was that closeness that set the tone for our nuclear family and shaped us as children. It was a difficult time, as her first pregnancy wasn't easy. Mum nearly lost her life giving birth. It was not long after that, on a much-needed vacation home to the West Coast, when Al surprised Sharon by applying for jobs in Vancouver and planning their move back, where they settled in North Vancouver. That is where, in 1966, their second child, Catherine Laurel Coppin, was born. As far as Al was concerned, a family of 4 was perfect. Sharon had other plans, and so 3.5 years later, Shannon Leah Coppin was born, and they became a family of 5. We had a wonderful childhood filled with big family gatherings, birthday parties, traveling and road trips. So many of these memories were shared with our relatives and friends from around the neighborhood. On summer breaks, Mum and Dad would allow us to bring friends with us on our road trips. There was never a child Mum would turn away. We had kids from troubled homes coming in and out of our doors for as long as we can remember. The generosity our parents showed shaped the way we grew up and the people we became. It was not uncommon for Mum and Dad to give our friends a place to live and an allowance until they could get on their feet or work out a plan to graduate high school. Looking back, this stands out as one of the most amazing things about our mother, her capacity to care for people. This nurturing continued on with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Alicia and Aaron have always been the center of her world. There wasn't a birthday or a holiday that wasn't celebrated around her big table. Mum was an amazing cook and an amazing baker. She baked cakes for us when we were younger, but for the grandkids and great-grandkids, there was always a couple of cakes, plus ice cream, and pudding, possibly even candy, and definitely takeaway baking. Christmas will be bittersweet without her shortbreads, butter tarts, mincemeat tarts, and Wife-Savers casserole. We will do our best to continue the traditions that were dear to her heart and that filled our home growing up with so many beautiful memories. Mum enjoyed a quiet life for the most part. She liked gardening, baking, and reading. Sharon was a daughter, a sister, a wife, a friend, a mother, an auntie, a grandma, and a great-grandma. But most of all, she was a caregiver. Mum was probably better known as Nana by her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. They are the legacy she left behind and one she was so proud of. She told everyone how deeply she loved her family, how fortunate she felt to have them and to be loved by them. She adored having all of them around her on Sundays. It was only weeks before her passing that we all gathered at her home in Maple Ridge for Easter dinner, all 14 of us. She wanted us to stick together. Aaron, Kendall, Brooklyn, Quinley, Briley, Alicia, Siler and Kratos, as well as Steve and Sue, Lori and Dave, plus Shannon and even her dogs. She cherished having us for family dinners and holidays. Just before her 81st birthday, she fell ill, and we didn't get to celebrate like we normally would. On June 1st, she joined her true love. She went peacefully, she was not afraid, and she was surrounded by love. She left this world exactly the way she told us she wanted to, free of pain and with no suffering. As hard as it is to lose her, it's up to us now to carry on the legacy. In her honor, we will continue to gather and to love each other as she would have loved us. Mum lived and loved through us and continues to do so, unconditionally.
I took the supermarket flyers from the windowsill. threw the day old tea from the cup, packed up the photo album Matthew had made, memories of a life that's been loved. Took the get well soon cars and stuffed animals, poured the old ginger beer down the sink. Dad always told me, don't you cry when you're down, but Mum, there's a tear every time that I blink. Oh, I'm in pieces, it's tearing me up, but I know a heart that's broke is a heart that's been loved. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go, and when God takes you back, He'll say hallelujah, you're home. I fluffed the pillows, made the bed, stacked the chairs up, folded your nightgowns neatly in a case. John said he'd drive, then put his hand on my cheek and wiped a tear from the side of my face. And I hope that I see the world as you did, 'cause I know a life with love is a life that's been lived. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go, and when God takes you back, He'll say hallelujah, you're home. Hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. You got to see the person I have become. Spread your wings, and I know that when God took you back, He said hallelujah, you're home.